Welcome to another edition of our Four Questions Journalist Spotlight. All right, we got a full show today. We are talking with Miles Neiman, who has so many things on his plate. I don't know how he gets it all done. We could start the conversation with the magazines. We could talk about some COVID things. We could talk about the film industry. I don't know where to start, but I'm going to start. Here's what I am going to do. I'm going to start with having Miles give us a little bit of background about how he got to where he is, because he and I started working together years and years ago on another local publication that he had. So Miles, welcome. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you,
let's
Mitch.
start with that.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about you. Where'd you come from? How'd you get your start in journalism?
Yeah, so I started about 26 years ago, publishing a little magazine here in the Buckhead area called the Piedmont Review. And I didn't know what I was doing. Just started up a magazine. It was almost started with the idea of doing like a newsletter. And I had the Fulton County Daily Report printed because they for a pretty cheap turnaround, and they were for most people who probably don't know what that is, they were a legal newspaper. Do you know? Have you heard of them? You know what that is, don't you?
Oh yeah, the Daily Report. Yeah, they are, and still they're the official.
Are they still around?
Yeah, they're the official legal publication for Fulton County. And
wow, that's amazing.
They are thriving. They're part of a larger legal publication network now. But yeah, they're a great publication.
That's amazing. So I'm glad to hear that. So they were doing it. They subcontracted out a few other publications. And, I think I was 27 years old. All I knew was that I didn't want to work for somebody else if I didn't have to. So the Piedmont Review turned into a regular newspaper for Buckhead. Then it expanded to Atlanta. Then it turned into a magazine. And I did that for almost 20 years.
Yeah, and that's when I first met you back working with one of my financial clients way back in the day.
Oh, yeah, Emily Sanders. We'll give Emily a shout out.
Emily Sanders, that's right. Sanders Financial Management.
She's a wonderful lady.
Yeah. So, okay, so we reconnected recently when you started a new publication called the Georgia Hollywood Review. So we're going to talk about that just for a second, and then we want to talk about some other things too. But tell us why did you start the Georgia Hollywood Review, and what's your focus with that publication?
Sure. Be glad to, Mitch. So I started Georgia Hollywood Review at the end of 2019, primarily to fill a niche with the entertainment industry, to provide a magazine that covered above the line, below the line talent, kind of connected just the average person in Atlanta and throughout Georgia to what was going on in the industry. So I started that, and I've always been a film buff, love movies. And so I quickly fell in love with the entertainment industry here in Georgia. It's such a great group of people, both from a creative standpoint and a business opportunity standpoint. So I got to know some of the big players in that arena. Ryan Millsap, who owns Black Hall Studios, great guy doing some great stuff for the film industry here. Chris Ledoux owns Crafty Apes, visual effects specialist. They did La La Land, 12 Years a Slave, Doctor Strange, a plethora of Oscar-nominated and Oscar-winning pieces of work. So them and I couldn't. Alan Fox, everybody, you know him as well, Mitch. All the people who are really the big players here in the community. Alan's with the Georgia Film Commission. He works with Lee Thomas. They work directly in conjunction with the governor's office to make sure the film industry here and the entertainment industry are growing as best they can and as efficiently as they can. So I fell in love with the people, with the work, and I decided I would focus not just on the magazine and on media, but also on building infrastructure. So I'm working with some other people. One gentleman named Taylor Owensby. We started a company recently called ISP Global Media. And we specialize in global content acquisition and distribution. So that's just one more piece of infrastructure that we're putting together for the state of Georgia to be big players in the entertainment industry, to where we don't have to rely on LA as much. You know, we want the industry to be sustainable, independent as much as possible.
Right.
I started another company called Grow Georgia Films. We specialize in Oscar and Emmy potential winning content shot here in Georgia using above and below the line talent. So I also started a talent agency and publicity agency called Miles Neiman Publicity and Talent Management. But once again, everything works in conjunction to help Georgia be represented with its best face in the entertainment industry, and to also give opportunity to, you know, people, actors, and talent, both above and below the line. And for viewers who don't know what that means, above the line means, you know, actors, producers, filmmakers. Below the line is the crew. Typically, that's the easiest way to.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to describe it. And I want to talk more about ISP. I do want to mention just briefly that in addition to the magazine, you've also got kind of a TV function or a video function that goes with that. So people can find all kinds of videos and interviews from events and things, and that's under the label of Georgia Hollywood Review TV. And I think you've got that across a lot of social platforms and digital platforms too, so that's easy to find.
Yeah, people can find that on their Roku too, their Roku and their Amazon Fire apps, and then we have a YouTube channel for it, and we do an Instagram show. I think one of the questions you wanted to ask me is how we pivoted, right? And in COVID times. So one way we pivoted, since we didn't want to put people at risk, especially a few months ago before people were working again. So we started this little show called GHR Talks Live on our Instagram account. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4:00. And we have a lovely host named Jonah Earl. Jonna has been with me for a while, and she's just killed this show, man. She just interviews people, talent above and below the line, similar to what we're doing now, just has conversations with people. And so she's really helped us to stay relevant during this time of uncertainty and this time where we couldn't just print a magazine and put it out there because, number one, it was cost prohibitive, and then two, nobody really wants to pick up a magazine right now,
But distribution,
at least
distribution is a little bit of an issue too. Yeah. So, what's your Instagram channel is what? What's the address there?
We are at Georgia Hollywood Review.
Okay, cool.
That's our Instagram.
All right. So back to ISP for a second. So give me an example of how that works. What's an example of global content acquisition? How would that work?
Yeah, so it's, and I'm learning every day myself, but what ISP Global Media is about, what Taylor and I are really trying to do, we have contacts all over the world. So we have sales agents in Central America, Panama, they spread out to Latin America, all the typical places that would have sales agency for this industry, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, etc. But one thing we're really trying to develop is Central America more, because there's not a lot of infrastructure there. So we're partnering with a gentleman in Panama, in Central America, not Panama City Beach.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. And
the one with the canal, right?
The one with that fancy canal.
The one with the big canal.
Right. So we're helping them to build infrastructure. We also have partners in the UK, in London, in Asia, in Beijing, in Paris, France, Rome and Milan, Italy, and of course in Los Angeles, Manhattan, and here in Atlanta. And then we're developing contacts in Eastern Europe as well. So what we do is acquire content. It has to be content that we think is quality oriented. We either purchase it or we help repackage it and market it. And then we help set up the distribution channels globally. So we do that with content that could be coming from anywhere in the world. And we also do it with content here in Georgia in our own production company content. But one cool thing is, through those relationships and conversations we have with people, what we've been finding to be the case is they have content that they want produced, and they want to come to Georgia to produce it. So we help provide an avenue for that, to help co-produce it with them, help, either produce it ourselves or put it in someone's hands who can help them here in Georgia and bring money and infrastructure through that here into Georgia.
Yeah.
But not just using, stereotypically and traditionally, Georgia has found itself as a locations place, right? And a crew place where a production from LA or Manhattan might come down, use their own talent, even if it's not A-list talent, just their talent from casting agencies in Los Angeles. And it just made sense because that's what they knew. But, as you know, it's been changing pretty dramatically here in Georgia, where Georgia talent, actors, above the line people are becoming more prevalent. So we try to be a conduit for that rather than to just sub Georgia out for its land and great crew. I mean, we have amazing crew, right?
Right.
As you know, here in Georgia, amazing. So, but we also have amazing talent. So we try to provide more avenues for that local talent to be showcased.
All right. So, can we talk about Grow Georgia Films? Can we talk about any of the films that you've got in development specifically? I know you've mentioned a few to me. I don't want to talk out of turn. So if there's something you can't talk about.
No, I'd love to. Thank you, Mitch. So I have 5 projects in development right now. One is a really big project on MLK, Martin Luther King. It deals with his assassination, and it's really a fascinating story, great script. It's a history book changer that's been buried for 40 plus years. And the story comes from this gentleman named Gary Revel. And Gary was the lead investigator on the James Earl Ray investigation, hired by James Earl Ray's attorney, Jack Kershaw, in 1977. So Gary worked in conjunction with the assassinations committee put together out of DC to investigate MLK, JFK, and Bobby Kennedy. So long story short, Gary found out some things that people didn't want him to know. His brother was killed in the midst of it all. He and his family barely escaped. Gary wanted to be a rock and roll kind of honky tonk musician, but he had an ex-Navy intelligence background. So that's one of the reasons why he was chosen to investigate. So long story short, he ended up having to sit on this story for 40 plus years. He just came out with it. It fell in our lap, and we're producing it, working with some big players. I can't talk about the details as far as the talent and the attachments right now, but it looks like it's going to be a really big blockbuster film. We got a $35 million budget. Before COVID, it was projected to gross $450 million worldwide in box office. So right now we're looking for some additional investors to help us to obtain some of the A-list talent we're trying to obtain. So if anybody's watching this and they think they, might be interested in the project, want to learn some more, they can reach out to me.
There we go.
We'll give them my info.
We'll see if we can make that connection. So, but tell me,
that'd be awesome.
We got just a couple minutes left, but tell me about the COVID Industry Safety Project. That's a separate company, or separate?
Yeah, myself and another gentleman started COVID Industry Safety LLC. So what we do is provide safety tests, COVID tests. We have both the nasal and the instant antibody test that tells you within 5 minutes if you either have COVID or if you've had it in the past 4 or 5 weeks. It's a finger prick, pretty non-invasive. So we're selling that to studios and to sets. And we also provide nurses. So we can send the nurses with the test for sets and studios, no matter how big or small it is, just so they can get peace of mind while they're shooting. We also provide PPEs, safety equipment, masks, gloves, temperature stuff, thermometer stuff, really anything anyone can need, even simple as hand sanitizer, hospital grade hand sanitizer. So they can email me at miles@GeorgiaHollywoodReview, miles@GeorgiaHollywoodReview.com. And of course, you'll probably provide some kind of link.
We'll put some graphics in. So do you actually go on set, or did you kind of sell them the equipment and they do it themselves?
Either or, just depending on what they want. It just depends on the setup. But we can go to set mobily and have nurses do the test, registered nurses with full liability insurance. Or we can, some studios already have nurses and medical professionals that they choose to work with as part of their infrastructure. So if that's the case, we can just provide them with the tests.
So if someone wants to get, I mean, that's key. That is so key to the stages and the companies to be able to begin production again, is to be comfortable and feel like they're safe. How is there a website? How do people get more information about that, or do they just want to email to you?
Yeah, the best is just email me directly, because
Okay.
we don't have. It's all happened so quick. We hadn't even had time to, set up the website. So
Gotcha.
they can just reach out to me, and we can give them prices. We can tell them what it's about and give them details and customize it for their needs.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So kind of the fun questions, the fun part, not that the other part's not fun, but okay. So tell me, what's the last book that you read that you want to admit to my vast global audience here?
The last book I read was probably a Malcolm Gladwell book. I can't remember which one though, to be honest. Let's see. It's up on my.
Oh, he's
It's
awesome.
up on my thing, but I can't see that far. But it was a Malcolm Gladwell.
All right.
Maybe what is it? Strangers, something strangers.
Well, there's Blink. There's three or four that I've read. All right. So I know you are a foodie. You are a guy who knows his food. So what is your favorite restaurant that you really want to get back to once you can really start going back to restaurants?
Yeah. I'll tell you the restaurant. I don't know if it's. I have so many favorites, as most people do, but a restaurant that I've been thinking about daily on hitting up would be MF Sushi.
Oh, good
because
one.
it's over here in my neighborhood. So
Yeah.
MF Sushi. I've been thinking hard on breaking my my COVID quarantine-ish type rules and going and eating there.
So our favorite sushi place is Kiku Sushi over in Buckhead there on Lenox Road.
Oh, you told me about that place. I haven't been there yet.
It's great. Now they're not seating in the restaurant right now, but you can get sushi to go. So we've just been ordering it, and you go pick it up. It takes 10 minutes to get over there, and then we bring it home. All right. Favorite guilty pleasure.
Favorite guilty pleasure. I don't have any anymore, man. Since
You don't have any
COVID.
guilty pleasures?
I can't even remember. I have too many to list, Mitch.
All right,
I don't want to. I'm going to plead the fifth. I don't want to.
All right. We may do some undercover research on that. Favorite non-work hobby that come back to.
Favorite non-work hobby.
You have any?
Probably spending time with my daughter. Not to sound corny, but I love hanging out with my kid. I like playing tennis. A lot of times my daughter and I, she's 11, we'll go horseback riding, stuff like that. That's a big favorite hobby.
Do you have a favorite place you like to go, get out in nature a little bit?
Here in Atlanta, not so much. I like the Highlands, North Carolina, quite a bit.
Yep.
If I'm going close by.
All right. Yeah, that's a great place. And we're going to skip the last question that we may come back to it at another time when we figure that one out. All right. Okay. So we talked about a lot of stuff here. Is there anything? I'm trying to think of something that we wanted to talk about that we forgot. We talked about Georgia Hollywood Review, Georgia Hollywood Review TV. Talked about COVID industry safety. Talked about Grow Georgia Films. Talked about ISP Global. So does ISP? Do you have a website for that one, or is that a email Miles kind of thing too?
The ISP Global website will be up a little under a week. We're just wrapping that up. So it's ispglobalmedia.com.
Okay,
ispglobalmedia.com. And then Grow Georgia Films is www.growgeorgiafilms.com. Of course, Georgia Hollywood Review, easy to find. But we'd love for people to go to our Roku channel at their homes, or go to Amazon Fire if they have that, and check out our Georgia Hollywood Review TV. We have a few cool red carpet shows. We went to the Oscars this past February. We went to Sundance, covered Sundance, and basically we just go to these places and cover Georgia talent.
Yeah,
at these big events.
We'll be back to doing that stuff sooner rather than later, I hope.
Let's hope so, brother. We were planning on doing con, this year, but that was the biggest disappointment for us, business-wise, as we couldn't go to con. We'll pick that back up. We'll get there, right?
Yeah,
we'll get there. Pass.
Yeah. It may be a little bit, but we'll get back there. Oh, see that rain in Inman Park has made it over to me now. It's just starting over here.
It's a nice
Yeah,
little storm, isn't it?
it's coming down. It's coming down. But I like the rain. That's all right.
Yeah, me too.
Makes my grass grow. That's all cool.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Miles Neiman, thank you so much. We we crammed a lot into 20 minutes, but you got a lot going on, and
thank you, buddy.
We'll add in URLs and links and emails and all that, so everybody can find everything. And we thank you for being with us. So we're going to be.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, we'll be back next week with another fun journalist in town to talk to you. I'm not sure who that's going to be yet, but it'll be a fun person. And until then, check us out. You can Google, find our archive of 4 Questions Journalist Spotlights on our leffassociates.com site. Just scroll all the way down, or you can just Google the Atlanta PR guy, and you'll find the page directly. And if you're interested in looking into doing PR in Atlanta, look at our websites, leffsatlantamedia.com or mitchesmediamatch.com. I don't have quite as many things going on as Miles, but I got a couple of things there. So
come on. I should add that you were instrumental in helping us get started with the Georgia Hollywood Review. I didn't know anybody or anything about the industry, and Mitch was kind enough to be my consigliere of sorts and get us pointed in the right direction.
Glad to do it. We started the Georgia Entertainment PR Alliance a couple of years ago, and it is our goal to make the industry in Georgia better than anywhere else in the country. And we will be there. We got so much going on with film and TV production in this state, and music and gaming and digital entertainment. There's a ton of stuff going on, and I love seeing more and more publications and media outlets and companies starting up, and you are certainly crossing the board across so many different areas in what you're doing. So we appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. It's always a pleasure. Love you, man.
All right. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Bye, guys.